it's going to be a year of high challenge for all businesses around the world. This year, more than any other, there'll be higher levels of uncertainty, greater risks, and relentless, quite possibly transformational change. What that means is that there will be, probably as there always has been, winners and losers. Winners will be those businesses that look to accommodate this prevailing environment of uncertainty, risk and change. The losers will be those that don't. In the United Kingdom, there have been many recent examples of casualties of businesses that have carried on almost in some kind of naivety while all the chaos in the external environment carries on. Examples include Toys R Us, British Home Stores, Woolworths. They've all gone. Why? Because they were unaware as they carried on in an environment of increasing turbulence, uncertainty and change. So how can organisations and businesses look to navigate their way through, to survive? First, they need to have a very clear strategy, a very clear vision about what it is they're trying to do. Then you have your mission statement, something that you share internally and externally so that everybody is clear about what you're standing for, about what your business is trying to achieve. But that doesn't happen in isolation. A number of things need to go with this, and a key element of helping an organisation to survive will be the ability to plan, and to plan effectively for the short, for the medium and for the longer term. What that then means is that all of the key stakeholders are those individuals or groups that can be internal or external or both, that have a vested interest in an organisation's performance. Everybody understands what the plan is, how it's going to be achieved, who is involved, what roles they have to take, what responsibilities they have, what their priorities should be, what their expectations need to be, and how they can be effectively managed. But before you have a plan, before any organisation, business can have a plan, it needs to understand. And it needs to understand what's going on inside and outside of the organisation itself. So the key factors that are going to take things forward internally, and the key factors that are going to influence what happens internally and externally as well. How can an organisation do this? Well, there are a number of techniques. One way of looking to understand the external environment is to complete what we call a pestle review. So to look at the political, the economic, the social, the technological, the legal and the environmental factors, external factors that will impact on an organisation's performance. We see many publications that simplify this external analysis. It is far from simplistic, because when you look at each of these 6 categories of external factors, first of all, they all apply always, every minute of every hour of every day, forever. There are no gaps. Secondly, with all these 6 categories of external factors, they all interrelate, so you've got that complexity. Thirdly, they're all subject to constant change. So what does that tell you about how the external environment needs to impact on an organisation's planning process? It tells you straight away that any organisation that plans without looking outside to see what's going externally is not going to survive very long. It is not going to survive very long. Further, to do an external analysis today, if you don't look at it again tomorrow, the day after, because of the rate of change, the relentless rate of change, it's going to be out of date. It's going to be worthless. So you'll be planning on something that's historic, which also means your chances of survival in this environment of relentless change, uncertainty and risk are considerably reduced. A business can also complete a SWOT analysis. And a SWOT analysis is where you look at the strengths and weaknesses of an organisation, their internal factors, and the external factors, so the opportunities and threats, and how all of these different series of internal and external factors link together. And what a pestle analysis will do, and what a SWOT analysis will do, particularly if you do both of them, they will enable a greater level of understanding about what is going on internally and what is going on externally, and how those factors constantly interrelate and relentlessly change, and therefore how they must impact on that planning process. A planning process can have no meaning without a context. That context is driven by internal factors and external factors, and both internal and external factors. Another framework you can look at as well is Porter's 5 forces. That's another way in which you can look at the internal environment and the external environment and how they interrelate. So to come back to where we began, a business that's looking to survive needs to have a clear vision, a clear strategy about where it's going to go. The planning process will give a series of frameworks about how it can look to navigate through these stormy waters of uncertainty, of high risk and of relentless change. That planning process needs to be underpinned by a regularly reviewed and updated clear understanding of the main internal and external factors that are going to influence the way in which you can do things. Examples of these winners and losers that we've talked about earlier on include, if we look across the European Union, if we look across the United Kingdom, currently we are coming up to a big decision, Brexit. So whether the United Kingdom will leave the European Union, and if so, under what circumstances. It's a pivotal time. Today, I was reading about it earlier today, there are examples of organisations that are just beginning to prepare for that change. And you can read these articles almost in disbelief, because actually that's going to be 2 years too late. Against that, there are examples of organisations who've gone public and said, whichever way the United Kingdom's exit from the European Union goes, we have planned for whatever options will come our way. They are going to be the winners. Another example, not just in the United Kingdom but all over the world, is the way in which consumers interact with businesses. And the winners will be those businesses that really understand what consumers want, what their customers want. The losers will be those that don't. And a really good example of that is the revolution on the high street. For several years now, there's been articles written about the demise of the high street. The high street will be no more. Why? Because consumers are going more and more online. Well, facts today. Around about 18% of consumers do their shopping online, which means 80%, 4 in 5, prefer to do it face-to-face, so on the high street. So what does that tell you? Businesses that plan to good effect have got a wonderful future on the high street. They just need to transform to become a business that interacts with its consumers in a way that the consumers want. And there are already examples of winners on the high street that demonstrate what is possible. So the winners will be those businesses that adapt. The losers will be those that don't. So as we look forward to 2019 and way beyond, it will be really interesting to see examples of business strategies, how they evolve, how they accommodate change, how they accommodate the relentless uncertainty and risk, and how their plans demonstrate a really good, robust and very agile understanding of its internal environment and external environment. Thank you.